You can feel it, right? It's this sense that the world is suddenly operating on a totally new set of instructions. That all the old, reliable paths to success and wealth, well, they just don't seem to work anymore. And you're not imagining it. We are living through a massive, fundamental shift, a structural change that demands a completely new way of thinking.
So, that brings us to the most important question of all. For a long, long time, our world was mostly based on predictable rules. But that era, it's fading, and fast. Now it's strength. We're talking economic, technological, and especially cognitive strength that really determines who wins. So what in the world does that mean for you and me? And how do we even begin to navigate this new landscape?
The very first thing we have to do is take that old playbook and just toss it. The new core principle isn't growth in the way we used to think about it, it's survival. And listen, don't let that word scare you. We're not talking about just scraping by. Think of survival as a strategic framework for thriving. It's about seeing yourself, your career, your wealth as a living system that has to adapt, evolve, and strengthen itself to win.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, the first part of this new strategy is all about how we invest our capital. In a world where so many old industries are just stalling out, the only real path forward is to invest in what's genuinely new. We have to start chasing what's called the new increment. So, what is this increments I'm talking about? Put simply, it's creating new value where literally nothing existed before. This isn't just about making something a little more efficient. We're talking about a massive leap in capability. Think about the invention of the internet or what's happening right now with AI. This is the real engine of progress, and creating this kind of new value is the only path to sustainable long-term growth. So let's get practical. How does this actually change how we think? The old logic was all about cycles. You'd buy real estate, you'd wait for the market to go up, you'd sell. Simple. You were betting on predictable patterns. The new logic is structural. It focuses on the foundational shifts, the actual architecture of our world upgrading itself. The bet isn't on cycles anymore. It's on the new structural tools that are turbocharging everything. And here's the perfect example of that structural shift happening right now. We are living through a brand new electricity revolution, and its name is artificial intelligence. I mean, think about it. If AI is the new game-changing industry, then GPUs are the power plants, the generators. And what's flowing through them? Information, capability, and massive value. This is where the increment is being created at a scale we've never seen before. You know, we're in this incredible period of breakthrough technologies, AI, biotech, new energy, aerospace, and these aren't just separate trends. They are all interconnected platforms that are building our future. But there's a core logic that ties them all together, and it's this: invest in what AI accelerates. AI is basically a supercharger for every single one of these other innovative fields. So in a world full of hype, where are the most solid bets? It's actually not in the flashiest new app. It's in the bedrock, the foundational stuff that makes everything else possible. And that means two things: computing infrastructure, the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush, and energy infrastructure, because this entire revolution, it runs on power, lots and lots of power. Now, investing in these massive trends is not for the faint of heart. The markets are gonna be volatile. That's why having a core conviction, a belief, is so unbelievably critical. And this isn't about blind faith. It's about having a strategic understanding of these huge trends that acts like your compass. It's the thing that lets you hold on through the chaos and actually stick to your strategy. Okay, so investing your money is only half of the equation. The other half, and you could argue it's way more important, is investing in yourself. And I mean specifically upgrading your own mental and cognitive structure, because that is rapidly becoming your single most critical asset. To really get why, just look at how power has evolved over time. Way back when, power was just raw violence, physical force. Then, in the industrial age, it became purchasing power, capital. Money was how you commanded resources and people. But today, in the information age, the ultimate form of power is becoming more and more abstract. It's cognitive power, the ability to see the whole system, make good decisions, and organize effectively. Just think about that for a second. Cognitive power is the new gatekeeper. It's this invisible barrier to entry for opportunity and influence that, in a lot of ways, is even more powerful than just having money. It's what determines who can navigate all this complexity and who gets left behind. This means the entire purpose of learning and education has to shift. The old mission? It was to train you to be a specialist, to be a really good cog in a really big machine. The new mission is totally different. It's to train you to be a strategist, to see the whole picture, to identify the real problems, and to make the tough calls. And the urgency here is absolutely real. We have to get ready for what you could call the SaaSification of the labor market. Software as a service. Well, knowledge workers are becoming skills as a service. Basically, plug-and-play resources that can be swapped out, not just for other people, but for AI. The skills that will stay valuable are the ones AI can't just copy: high-level oversight, strategic creativity, and complex problem solving. This all leads to a completely new definition of hard work. The old idea was just passive endurance, grinding it out. But true hardship, the kind that actually builds that cognitive power, is an active process. It's the discomfort of swimming against the current, of deliberately pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to break your old mental models and limitations that are holding you back. All right, we have a plan for our capital, and we have a plan for ourselves. The last piece of the puzzle is the mindset. It's the survival strategy we need to actually pull this off. And it's all about staying clear-eyed and totally aware of the world we're actually living in. First things first, never, ever forget that order is the foundation of everything. I know a traffic jam is frustrating, but think about it. The fact that cars are stuck in traffic means there are still roads, there are still rules, and there's still a functioning system. It means your assets actually still have value. A basic level of societal order is the absolute prerequisite for any strategy to work. Next up, let's get real about the nature of value. There is a massive difference between use value and transaction value. You might have a skill that's incredibly useful to you. That's its use value. But if nobody is willing to pay you for it, it has zero transaction value. Survival at its core is about exchange. It is not enough to be competent. You have to offer something the world is willing to trade for. Now, this next one is one of the biggest traps we all fall into. It's called self-obscuration. It's just our natural tendency to see the world through the very narrow lens of our own experiences and biases. We measure everything by our own personal yardstick. And this creates huge blind spots that lead to terrible strategic mistakes. The key to survival is to constantly fight this, to try and see the world as it actually is, not just as you wish it was. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? It really boils down to a clear, two-pronged plan. First, your capital investment. You need to focus your funds on the new infrastructure that's creating value in information and energy. So think AI and energy. Second, your personal investment. You need to focus your time and your energy on upgrading your own mental software to gain that critical cognitive power. Which really leaves us with one final question to think about. We've established the old paths are closing up, that the world is changing under our feet. So, as you plan for your future, you have to ask yourself, have you really truly invested in building the one asset that can weather any storm, the one thing that can never be fully taken away from you? Your own cognitive power?